I don't know why this is such a big myth. And it must be simply because it's so aggressively pushed by neocons. Specifically, it makes a lot of headway in Mark Stein's America Alone. But there's this idea that Russia, of all countries on Earth, has disproportionately the greatest aging problem and the greatest problem in terms of a low birth rate. And the United States, apparently, according to neoconservatives, has a quite positive birth rate, or a disproportionately positive birth rate, at least compared to Western Europe and the first world nations of East Asia. Now, the reality is that Russia and the United States have identical birth rates, essentially identical birth rates, according to the World Bank. Just typing in to Google the World Bank results for birth rates in 2017 will come up. Russia 1.76 births per woman. United States 1.77 births per woman. Now, of course, neither of these are above the 2.1, but this instantly debunks this myth that the United States has a very good birth rate and Russia has a much worse birth rate than the United States. Now, I understand that a lot of this birth rate has to do with the dearth of births that happened during Russia's collapse of the Soviet Union, you could say. But Russian society adjusted to this due to the poverty at the time, and it's the Russian Black Cross, if you will. And Russian men died in their 60s as opposed to in their 70s and 80s as American or Western European men. So the society essentially adjusted to this declining birth rate in societies in the West or Japan or South Korea and the United States and Canada didn't. And it's quite sad in how they did adjust to this, but their life expectancy basically curtailed this problem of this huge, very old population weighing down Russia. Furthermore, Mark Stein in this book talks a lot about like mass Chinese immigration being a threat to the Russian Federation, while mass Mexican and Central American immigration and mass immigration across the board, legal immigration, because both of those previous immigrations were illegal. Mass legal immigration from across the world in the United States isn't a problem. Now, it's very hard to come up with statistics on the number of illegal immigrants in Russia, and most of the stuff we have is from the mid 2000s. So, the media in the mid 2000s said that Russia had 3.4 million Chinese people, both illegal and legal and native to the Russian Federation. In the Russian census, or the like Taiwan said that there were about a million Chinese people in 2004-2005, while official Russian demographers said there was 200,000 to 400,000 in the same era. Now, looking back into a few years later, Pew Research Center said that there were 2.2 million illegal Mexicans in the United States. So, the United States has several times the magnitude of just illegal immigrants in it at the same exact time period as Russia has total native Chinese, illegal Chinese, and legal Chinese immigrants. Not to mention the sweeping immigration from Central America and the outside world. And I would say it's much better to simply have a low birth rate and a declining population than it has to have an aging population and massive immigration. But of course, neocons are never going to say that. They're never going to admit that Russia's doing better than the United States in any metric, or that the United States liberal ideology is a failure, because we must remember that neoconservatism is a left-wing ideology. It's basically Marxism-Leninism, but instead of the Soviet Union being some messianic force converting the world into communism, the United States is this messianic force converting the world into liberal democracy by force. Anyway, I just wanted to get out there and say that there's just this weird notion that Russia is acting aggressively because it has this horrible, like, crunching birth rate issue, but the United States has the exact same issue plus the crushing mass immigration, which is radically transforming the United States into, I would say, visibly a very incoherent entity.